Hi, I'm Jonathan Edwards, and today we're talking about hurricane preparedness. With me is Brent Fisher. Brent is the Assistant Director of Nash County Emergency Management. Hey Brent, how are you?
Good, how are you?
And Brent, we are actually in hurricane season right now, aren't we?
That's right, June 1st started hurricane season. It runs through November 30th, so we're right in the middle of hurricane season right now.
What kind of things do you want folks to know about preparing for hurricane season?
Well, as always, having an emergency plan, knowing if you have to evacuate, knowing where you need to evacuate to, where shelters may be, where your disaster supply kit is, your emergency supplies, and making sure that that is stocked and ready to go in the event that you need to leave your residence and go somewhere else. You have that disaster kit ready to go always. And some of the things that you want to put in your disaster kit is 1 gallon of water per person per day. You need non-perishable food items, and you also need money, cash, because there is a possibility, power being out, that the ATM machines will not work, and also credit card debit machines will not work. So you need to have cash in your disaster kit as well. So you also need important papers like birth certificates, bank statements, things like that, because after a hurricane in the recovery phase, if you're applying for assistance, you may need those documents to assist you with that type of recovery effort.
And another important thing is medication.
That's
if you're
right.
on any kind of medication, you need to make sure you have a 2-week supply of that.
Yep,
What is
that's good. Two-week supply is good on that. And most of the time you can call your pharmacist if you're getting low, or if you've already got a stock and it's not time to replenish that. If you're telling them that you're trying to get it for a 2-week supply for your emergency kit, that you got a hurricane coming or something like that, then they will most of the time fill that and give you a short supply.
Most everything in this kit is the expiration dates on them are far out, or
Right.
should we check the kit every now and then to make
Yes.
sure?
The kit should be checked periodically, and I say quarterly, so 4 times a year. And there's nothing wrong with if you go to the grocery store and you pick up a couple of items, is to take out something from the kit and use it and put those items that you just purchased from the grocery store, put those in there to replace it. So that way you're always recirculating supplies in that disaster kit and keeping everything fresh and ready to go in the event you do need it.
So let's say that you have a disaster that affects you at your house. You have your kit. Where can you go at this point? What does Nash County offer for shelters?
Well, most of the time, we have a list of shelters in the county that Red Cross have come out and performed a survey that they do on any type of shelter that they're involved in. So we do have a list. We do not publish that list because there's about 12 or 15 different facilities that are on that list that we can choose from depending on the affected area on where that shelter may need to be. And most of the time, if we're opening a shelter, we're going to publish that on Facebook, social media, and also with the media, so you'll have some idea of where that shelter will be stood up at. Another thing that you could use is called the Ready NC app, and if you put that on your smart device, any shelter that is open across the state of North Carolina will populate in that app, and you can see where those shelters are located. So right now, I checked it this morning. Of course, there's no shelters open right now, but if we did have to open a shelter, it would show up in that app and let you know. But you know, a lot of our schools, we do have some non-governmental facilities that we use from time to time, a couple of churches. Nash Community College has also been a great site for us, but we just don't publish that list because we don't want people showing up at a site and we haven't used that or chose that site to be used for that particular event, and we chose somewhere else.
So never assume that your shelter is where it was last time.
Right, that's right.
This year in particular, shelters may be a strange thing with COVID-19.
Yes. COVID-19, the pandemic has certainly changed the way we're planning shelters. You know, we still have to, from an emergency management standpoint, we still have to be ready to stand up a shelter. But the message this year is do not count on going to a congregate shelter like you have in the past. You need to make plans now to go to a family member's residence, a friend, or try and find a hotel somewhere that is away from the affected area. And the congregate shelter would be a last resort. And if we do open a congregate shelter, things are going to look a little bit different, and you need to be prepared for that. There will be some a screening process that you actually have to go through, a questionnaire that actually asks you questions about COVID-19, signs and symptoms and so forth. But then also you'll have a temperature check at least once a day, if not twice a day. And if you do leave the shelter for any reason, you will be screened again when you come back to the shelter. And that's to protect you and to protect everybody else that's in the shelter. You'll be required to wear a mask while you're in the shelter, except for when you're sleeping. You will not be required to wear it when you're sleeping, but any other time in the shelter you will be required to wear a mask. Cots may not be available this year, so you need to be prepared to bring your own bedding material or items that would make you comfortable without having a cot in that facility. And still bring your emergency supply kit, again, your own water, your own food, your own medication. Again, important papers are always important to put in your disaster kit, so having those items there as well. And if you've got children, making sure that you've got a plan for them when they come to the shelter as well. If we do open a congregate shelter, we're going to try and keep the families together, but social distancing is going to be key. That we got to maintain that 6 foot of distance, and also wearing the mask. Social distancing is causing us a problem this year with the amount of people, the capacity in our shelters is drastically reducing our capacities at the shelter because of the 6 foot requirement. But that's why the big push is use a congregate shelter as a last resort and go to a family member's home, a family or friend, or go to a hotel.
Okay. And another idea about shelters is a lot of people have pets now.
That's
they
right.
want to make sure their pet comes with them to be safe from the storm.
That's right.
What do we have for pets?
Okay, so with pet sheltering, we have 2 resources that are at our availability. One is called a CAST, which is a companion animal shelter trailer, which is a self-contained 43 cage trailer that is climate controlled. It has water on board that we can actually put pets in, their dogs and cats, in that trailer. Again, it's climate controlled. It's still the responsibility of the pet owner to walk it, feed it, look after it. It's just we're providing a safe place for that animal. The other capability that we've got, the other resource, is a CAMET, a companion animal mobile equipment trailer. And it has 50 collapsible cages on board that we can set up, like if we use a school, we can actually take the shop area and set a shelter up inside the shop area with those 50 collapsible cages. So we've got a couple of different options. Both of them have been used. They were used during Hurricane Dorian for 2 different type of sheltering operations at 2 different sites, and they work great. With our animal control folks, with our public health department, and our partners with the City of Rocky Mountain Animal Control, it's always worked out great, having those partners involved and those resources available.
So with readync.org, is that how you would find out if the shelter can handle pets?
On readync.org, most of the information that is there is, again, it will show you shelters that are available, but it also just give you preparedness tips on what to think about if you're going to a shelter, if you're evacuating. And it not only covers hurricane, but it also covers fires and other winter storms and things like that. So we try to make any of our shelters, if we can stand up 2 shelters, then they will be, most of the time, be pet friendly or pet accommodating, and be able to do pet sheltering there. But if things get bad and we're opening additional shelters, there may be a chance where we're having to move someone or move an animal to a site to accommodate that sheltering of that pet. So again, we've got those 2 capabilities, and we've got additional capabilities, resources across the state of North Carolina. If they're not being used, we can call them in and get those resources in here as well.
When hurricane season began, North Carolina Emergency Management came up with a list of things that you need to be aware of for hurricane preparedness.
Right.
Some of those things were about flooding. What do we need to worry about areas flooding?
Yes, the inland flooding is a big concern of not only local emergency management and public safety officials and the state, as well as the state, because that's where a lot of our deaths occur during hurricane season, is actually inland flooding. A lot of people think of storm surge on the coast, but inland flooding contributes to quite a bit of the deaths that we see across the state of North Carolina, and that's where people are walking across rapidly moving water, and it knocks them off their feet, and they're downstream very quickly. Same thing can happen with vehicles. We've seen that in the past where people just drive through a flooded area and their car gets wiped off the roadway, and either they perish, or they're having to climb out of their vehicle and they're clinging to a tree, and we're having to come rescue them. But that is a big concern, that if you encounter a flooded road or a street, do not walk across it, and do not try to drive through it, because you don't know what the road condition is below that water line. And just because it looks like it's not moving on top of the surface of the water, under the water it could be rapidly moving. So anytime you encounter a flooded street or a road, turn around, don't drown.
And for any other questions, who can they call, Brent?
They can call our office, the Emergency Services Office, at 252-459-9805 for more information on emergency preparedness, hurricane safety, any type of preparedness activity. We'll be glad to share the information that we have, and answer any questions that anyone has.
Thanks, Brent.
Thank you.